আপনারা দেখছেন টকিং পয়েন্ট।
সৌজন্যে মাহবুব এন্ড কো অ্যাকাউন্টেন্টস।
We have in our studios today a very well-traveled lady, but apart from being a very well-traveled lady abroad, she has also visited a lot of villages in connection with her very commendable work. So Naeema, what do you think are the main challenges that face the elderly people and those who are looking after them in Bangladesh and particularly in rural areas?
Again, I want to say that the situation is better in rural areas than in urban areas. In rural areas, of course, again, as you said, a lot of women now are working in the garments factories and leaving the villages to go to the city to find work. But this is also true of men. So at the end of the day, who looks after the elderly? Sometimes it's the children. The
that was the tradition, men leaving homes,
but
getting the bread.
Now small children are left alone with elderly grandparents,
right.
And it's not a very, what should I say,
the babysitting.
conducive situation. And if the elderly person is active, sometimes you find most grandparents look after grandchildren, right. And that's wonderful. But if one person is sick, if either the grandmother or grandfather is sick, and then it becomes difficult for the whole family. They have to take turns looking after. We don't find this to be the case so much in the villages because everybody takes turns. They rely on neighbors, they rely on cousins, distant relations, extended family. It's not so bad. What really is a problem is that when they need medical attention, and then everybody has to go to Dhaka because the local health center is not equipped with certain things, or they don't have the right doctors or medicine. So everything
I would
is.
ask you,
yes.
Is Dhaka equipped to? Because when I was in Dhaka and whenever I go to Dhaka, I see people rushing off to Singapore.
No, but the amazing thing is that you find a villager, you'll find him in Apollo. Without sandals, but they go to Apollo thinking they will get the best treatment.
Right.
Sometimes they sell their land in order to get this treatment.
Of course, I mean.
And I'm not saying that Apollo is very efficient or forthcoming, or what happens is that
they try to get the best.
For anyone, not just the elderly, it's not so easy getting medical attention, and to see a specialist, for example. And then again, the doctors don't talk to each other. There's no file as such, There's not, doctors see people for a very short time. It's not
right.
over a long period of time.
Right.
And this is my issue. I mean, if you have to be healthy when you're older, you have to look at your life, your
right.
lifespan, and the kind of habits you have, the food you ate, the kind of lifestyle you have,
Right.
Unless
right.
you look at that, you cannot take care of yourself.
We're talking about education.
We're talking about what we call the life course learning or knowledge, so that you can keep well.
Right.
The life course, meaning did you suffer any childhood diseases that can have an impact during your adolescence and your adult life.
And on your children.
Yes, and then what you pass down to your children also. And then
Right.
the fact is, were you very sporty, or did you lead a sedentary life, which we all do in urban areas. Even in Bangladesh, people are more sedentary than...
Is that part of the so-called digital Bangladesh
I would say not
slogan?
necessarily. Digital Bangladesh is meant to be a positive thing, that
Right.
we use technology for our benefit.
Right.
But before you can use technology for your benefit, you have to apply what you learn in school or in college or university, the day-to-day education,
No, I was thinking of having this data. An old man, he has so many diseases, he suffered this, you see.
We're not asking the right questions. Medical professionals don't ask these questions. The 10 minutes or 15 minutes they give you, do they ask about what diseases you suffered in childhood? That do they see the relationship between this? And not just disease, your lifestyle. Like
even if they did and they didn't record
a laborer or a rickshaw, he wears out his muscles, faster than you and I do.
Right.
But these are not questions that are looked into
But
by...
he does carry a mobile phone, see.
Oh, yes.
And this is not the concept of digital Bangladesh, you see.
No,
Because
it's
just
not.
carrying a mobile phone, having a mobile phone in your pocket, it doesn't make the country a very developed place, you see. What you're talking about is, that will do, see, looking after our real wealth, the people. See.
Exactly.
In the People's Republic.
Exactly.
It's the people.
It's the people. It's the people you have to invest in.
Yes.
I always say invest in people, not in buildings.
True.
We are first and foremost, if you need anything, we say we have to make a building. But we don't think about who are people who are going to manage the building, what will be the program, what will be the, what will be done there, the work. What we think about is the building.
Right.
But we have to focus on the person, how to develop this person, to upgrade his skills, to give him something he can be employed for, to make a difference in society, to make a contribution, So we don't think in those lines, and I don't think our education is also geared towards that,
Right.
But we really should. Knowledge is there, but the application of knowledge is missing. And not just in Bangladesh, in many places in the world, But I won't say that Bangladesh is the, main.
No, this is not an individual problem in
No, no,
Bangladesh.
no.
But the point is that the problem exists in other countries. It does not mean that we should not.
And then men and women, the fact that their health problems are different problems, or even within the family, that women do a lot more than men, and they wear out, they burn out. So who's looking into that? Who's talking about it? We should be talking about these things,
True. If we don't talk about it,
the first stage is to talk about it.
We will not be able to solve these problems.
That's how awareness grows. That's how consciousness grows. And from consciousness and awareness, you can make true development. That truly develop.
How many volunteers you have going out in the rural areas in your organization?
Actually, ours is not an NGO. I call it a foundation. What we're trying to do is we're trying to train carers. We're trying to train care workers. We're trying to open this field of employment for new people, to introduce professionalism into this. As they are not nurses, but they can be nurse aides.
So your carers will be working in hospice?
They can be working in a hospice, they can be working in a clinic, they can be working in a home, but they will be trained. They'll be trained in palliative care if a person becomes bedridden. They'll be trained in disability care, how to care for a disabled person. They're trained for how to talk to an elderly person, how to communicate, how to be, gentle and to listen to them. Because the main thing that elderly people complain about all over the world is that I don't have the companionship. I'm lonely. There's no one to talk to. I miss the human contact. This is the basic problem for elderly people. And nobody wants to die alone.
True.
And we have to address the issue of dying and death. People are afraid of this. But dying is just a transition. If we really believe in our religion, it's a transition, isn't it? But we don't talk about these things. We may talk about where I want to be buried, but we don't talk about, if I become ill or unhealthy, this is what you should do.
In so many cultures, they have this belief that we'll come back. I had a very illustrious journalist who being a Christian, he has converted to Hinduism, and he believes that he'll come back to this earth. And saying, I would like to. I said, who wouldn't? But is it true? Is it possible? It's a wonderful life. Yes. But as you said, that nobody wants to talk about death. Nobody wants to die. So make the best use of it. Make this life much better.
The other thing is, there's such a thing as, I don't know if you've heard this expression, good death. A good death. A good death is a death by, your choice or your idea of dying. Most people, when you ask them, what would you consider a good death?
A peaceful death.
Yes, a peaceful death. Dying in your sleep. Or dying while you're doing something you enjoy.
Right.
Or dying in the company of those you love.
Right.
But the main thing, you ask anyone, no one wants to die alone. They want their loved ones around them. And the death itself, what they're afraid of, is the suffering, the physical suffering, or the mental suffering. And these are things we don't talk about. But this is exactly what we need to talk about, because the whole idea of taking care of the elderly or the aged or people
Do we have elderly homes in Bangladesh?
We do. We do have several elderly homes, and it's kind of a class thing. The upper class will say, this is not for us. This is for people who are, abandoned. But that's not the case, People by choice are maybe staying there. We need not to be judgmental. We should never judge why people are in a care home. I call it a care home. I don't call it an old home. Because an old home cannot be old, and there people are seeking care. And I salute those people who are trying to give this care, and they're not the government. These are private individuals, who out of their good heart are trying to do something for elderly people when they come to them.
They're not free, are they?
They're not free, and why should it be free?
No, I'm just asking.
No, the thing is that you often, we think that this is the NGO mentality. Non-government organization, what does it mean? Does it mean anything? Why not private voluntary initiative?
True.
Why not individual citizens initiative, community initiatives, you know?
It's usually thought that non-government organizations have got a lot of money coming from abroad.
You're a linguist. The power of words, the power of words, of language. We need to change our language, you know, to make people understand. It's all about being conscious. It's all about being conscious yourself, about, you know, educating your family, bringing up your children in that way. You know, elderly, you know, the elderly care or elderly having the dignity as an elderly citizen. It's all about having the dignity when you're young, or when it's just, you know, having that respect in society, love and respect. And if it's a profession, there are certain skills they have to know. Skills, for example, you know, you're suffering a heart attack, or you're, you know, out of breath, oxygen, you know.
Right.
Or during a heart attack, what is the emergency procedure? What do they do? CPR and things like that. So these are skills that need to be taught. But apart from these skills, day-to-day communication, okay, day-to-day living assistance, then providing the environment, a safe
But
environment.
can these skills be taught at the schools?
We are a training center. That is what AgeWell is doing. We're
Yes, I
training.
see.
We have a 3-month training course,
Right.
and this is where people who want to be carers or nurse aides, they come to us. We're also upgrading that into companions. You know, people who are better educated, maybe have a college education.
When you say they come to us, I mean, you go to them, or they come to
No,
you?
we advertise, they come to us, and then they look at the course. If they think it's something worthwhile, they do the course. And they immediately find, you
And
know.
who are these people?
Young graduates, people who are sitting home, not doing anything, but think that maybe they can have this as a career.
There's
And
a large number of
there's
girls.
a large number of, we try to have both men and women. It's very difficult getting the men. And we find that minority people, Christian Bangladeshis, are forthcoming because they have it in their culture.
Right.
Buddhists, Hindus, they have it in their culture. It's the mainstream who don't want to come and do this kind of work. The dirty, the dangerous, and I think the other D, I forget what Quayes said. There are 3 Ds, which if it's part of the profession, people don't want to do. It's the same here in the UK. You know, they get foreigners to do all the dirty, the dangerous work. You know, everywhere in the world.
They have been doing it for last. I mean, the establishment of London Underground is thanks to the foreign workers.
Exactly, and we owe a debt to them. Same in Maldives and Singapore. You know, what the local citizens don't do, they get the foreigners to do it. But we owe them a lot. You know, a debt of gratitude for all that they're doing. These are things. You know, I think the dignity of labor is where there's like you said, men don't want to be nurses. For God's sake, why not? Because the BBC did a kind of a survey 10 years ago, and I was listening to it, where they said, it's not the MBAs who are going to get jobs.
True.
MBAs are going to be unemployed in the next, this is 10 years ago. There'll be too many MBAs, saturation, you know. Everyone wants to do business, but for business you need credit.
True.
For business you need good ideas. For business you have to understand the market.
So
these are the professions.
like all other good things, we seem to be coming to the end of this program.
Sure.
And I would like to thank you for coming along, but before we go, I would like you to say a few words to our viewers about your good work that you've been doing.
Viewers, I would say that if you have an elderly person at home, please spend quality time with them. Young people get to know what the contribution that the senior citizens have made to your family, to the community, to the country. These contributions need to be documented. They need to be shared. Talk to each other.
Yeah, and we need to use their expertise, their knowledge,
Exactly.
make them
Pass
feel
the torch.
wanted.
Pass the torch on. You know,
Yes.
don't relearn. Don't recreate the wheel.
Yeah,
Learn from each other.
yeah. We have to make them feel they are wanted by the society.
Exactly.
They are not ignored. They are respected. Because, I mean, they have spent a lifetime, a teacher, as a doctor, as an engineer, as a lawyer, as
You
an
shouldn't
accountant.
become invisible just
Yeah,
because you're older.
yes. And it's not just the person that becomes invisible because of he wants to be, but
No,
because
but
it's the
to others, to
it's the
people.
pressure of the society. I mean,
Exactly.
they ignore him.
Exactly.
They laugh at him.
They honk at him when he's slow and
Right,
moving
see.
or cannot drive the car, you know, and they get
But in every
irritated.
culture, you know, in every culture, they wish you long life, isn't it? See?
Yes. But
In
again, a long, happy, prosperous, good life.
Yes.
You know, not just long life, which is, not worth living.
Well, let's hope that you and I and all of us and all the viewers will have a happy, long and prosperous life. And on this very happy note, we say goodbye. Thank you very much for being with us, and thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.